be opened in prayer by Justice Holcomb.
Father, we're thankful for another day that you have blessed us with. We're thankful for the opportunity to be here. We pray, God, that you would grant us wisdom. Father, I pray that you would grant us a spirit of unity. And Father, I pray that we would be reminded that foremost, we represent you and your kingdom. So may you be pleased and be honored by what is said and done here tonight. And I know so often, Father, that I fail you, and I ask that you forgive me. And that, Father, that we would represent our faith in Christ first and foremost. And we ask these things in his holy name. Amen.
Amen. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led tonight by Van Buren County 4-H.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, 4-H.
Thank you very much.
Very good job. Have a seat.
Yes.
Absolutely. I tell you what, go right ahead and introduce yourself.
That sounds good. Okay, you can go ahead and start. Go a little bit closer so they can hear.
So, my name is Harmony Glinsky, and we are here with the Southside 4-H Club. I am the recreations leader, and one of my projects is cooking, and I also show livestock, specifically pigs. My name is Fletcher Willis. I'm part of the Southside 4-H Club. I serve as vice president, and my main project is showing livestock.
My name is Kinley McMahon, and I am a member of the 4-H Club, and my project is showing livestock.
My name is Carly McMahon, and I'm the president of the Southside 4-H Club, and my main project is showing cattle.
My name is Hudson Glinsky, and I am a member of the 4-H Club, and my project is community service.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I'll let you share what your motto is and then do a really quick pledge for them.
Okay, our motto is to make the best better, and our pledge is, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
We just want to thank you all so much. We're with the University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension, and we are here to serve our community. Every county in our offices in our state have these offices and has the 4-H clubs, and these kiddos are busy serving their community and working really hard for you all. And so we put a folder in front of you to kind of share some of the information, specifically one that if you know of other young kids that would like to be in this organization, there's a little pamphlet inside there that gives so much information. They already know what they're doing for the full year, and they're going to be busy working this year to represent you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Roll call.
Holcomb.
Here.
Nikki Brown.
Here.
Sarah Brown.
Here.
Phillips. Mike Bradford.
Here.
John Bradford.
Here.
Page.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
Okay, on approving the agenda, I would entertain a motion to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers. Also, there was an emergency ordinance that was tabled from last month that is now ready for this month. I would entertain a motion to allow that to be voted on tonight.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
So a motion and a second on that. And there is an additional resolution for a grant that we just received paperwork on today. So it worked out. I would entertain a motion to approve that, or to run that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on approving the resolution. So are there any other additions, subtractions, or changes to the agenda?
Dale,
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to discuss the possibility of amending the agenda. There is the tabled 911 ordinance and the 911 ordinance brought forward by the committee. And to me, it just makes sense that they're discussed together. I assume that the tabled ordinance would be an old business. I would move to amend so that the table ordinance is behind the 911 ordinance that was brought forward by the budget committee.
Okay.
I would move that the ordinance submitted by Nikki Brown, talking about the $2,000 for the extra meetings, be moved because we have an ordinance to deal with that very thing.
We have a motion and a second on the table first for Nikki's motion, and let's vote on that one first. Any discussion on Nikki's motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, now Esther, would you care to repeat that?
I'm going to jump in there. The first ordinance is dealing with, I believe, $2,000 added to the Quorum Court for special meetings, or to the budget committee for special meetings. We have an ordinance that deals with this on the table, and I would say that I would think that that would need to be put after that ordinance is either denied or approved.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. So a motion and a second for Esther's move to move the Nikki's ordinance behind the other ordinance. We're just changing the order in which things are going to be heard. Any discussion? All in favor of that change signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? All of those can be rolled into one at the discretion of the county judge, and I'd like to do that instead of voting on every one of those individually. So roll call vote for the entire change package.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki Brown,
Yes.
Sarah Brown,
Yes.
Mike Bradford,
Yes.
John Bradford,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Knowing myself the way I do, I will try to get some of those put out of order, so y'all just correct me when I do that. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes and financials.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes and financials. Any discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next are County Judge's comments. All I have is that we've had a very busy month between a major snowstorm that wreaked havoc, that dropped a lot of trees all over the roads. Then it was followed up by an ice storm, which was followed up by floods. And I've learned not to ask what's next. So I think we were spared last night, and I'm happy with that. It's going to take us quite a while. We've got a lot of potholes. We've got a lot of issues that were created by flooding. We've got right-of-ways that still need to be cleared up with trees all down in them. So, I mean, the people have been very patient. We're going to have to ask for even more patience because it's going to take a 24-man road crew a long time to get that cleaned up. Next is reports from committees, and we had a budget committee meeting. So, Nikki, would you like to fill us in on the budget committee?
Sure. We held a budget committee meeting on February 6th, and old business that was covered was the Buren County Conservation District funding. The budget committee had approved $2,500 in funding that was omitted from the budget. So that has been, all these items have been moved forward in ordinances tonight to the full court. There were 4 meetings of the Quorum Court that were approved but omitted. There's an ordinance for that. New business, courthouse printer, they're getting more information on that and going to come back. The sheriff's budget was discussed. There was $10,000 removed. There's an ordinance to reinstate that. There was also $2,500 removed from the detention center. There's an ordinance to reinstate that. And a jail maintenance fund needs to have a transfer to make it as an approved. It's a $10,000 transfer from transfers to plumbing and electrical. Also, the committee discussed 911 salaries, and there's a motion, there's an ordinance that they have moved to the full quorum court that discusses reinstating previous pay rates for 3 positions as those pay rates decreased from what they were being paid, so they're being paid less than they were, and to give back pay for that. The next budget meeting is on February 26th at 6 o'clock. 27th, excuse me.
Thank you for that report. JPs, do you have any questions for any elected officials that are here, elected officials or department heads? Would any of you like to approach the court? All righty. Moving on to our next item of business, it takes us up to new business and our first ordinance, which is sponsored by Nikki Brown.
I think we're moving that one.
Okay, we did. I just noticed that. I told you had to keep me straight. Our next one is sponsored by Virgil Lemmings.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, appropriation ordinance to be entitled. Appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance Q 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, and increase the budget revenue and appropriate $2,500 for the Van Buren County Conservation District 1000-804. Whereas it was voted by the 2022 Budget Committee to allot $2,500 to the Van Buren County Conservation District for the 2023 budget year for their contracted amount, and whereas this money need to be appropriated. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $2,500 be appropriated into 1000-804-3106 for the Van Buren County Conservation District. I move that we approve this as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
Was this money just not put in the conservation?
Correct.
You failed to get in there?
Right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki Brown.
Yes.
Sarah Brown.
Yes.
Mike Bradford.
Yes.
John Bradford.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-08.
Our next ordinance is sponsored by Sarah Brown.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $10,000 into the Sheriff's Office budget line item number 1000-400 and $2,550 into the Detention Center budget line item 1000-418. Whereas $663,504 was approved in the Sheriff's budget for the year of 2023 full-time salaries by ordinance number 2022-58. And whereas $673,504 was originally presented to the 2022 Budget Committee for the full-time salaries, whereas although $663,504 will cover the base salaries for 2023, $10,000 will need to be added to cover paid holidays for the Sheriff's Office employees to raise the amount to what had originally been presented. And whereas $1,450 will need to be added to the Detention Center's line item 1000-418-3020, phone and fax, and $1,100 will be added to line item 1000-400-3023, internet, to raise the amounts to the original amounts requested. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $10,000 will be appropriated into the Sheriff's budget line item 1000 400-1001 full-time salaries. Number two, $1,450 will be appropriated into the detention center budget line item 1000-418-3020 phone and fax. And number three, $1,100 will be appropriated into the detention center budget 1000-418-3023 internet. I move that we accept this written.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki Brown.
Yes.
Sarah Brown.
Yes.
Mike Bradford.
Yes.
John Bradford.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-09.
Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Holt.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to correct a payment made from the 2023 budget for the law library to transfer and reappropriate monies. Whereas a payment of $704.68 was made to Card Service Center for the 2023 budget of the law library in January of 2023. And whereas the payment should have been paid from the law library 2022 budget due to it being a December 2022 bill. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $704.68 be transferred from the Law Library 2022 budget number 6009-600-2001 and be reappropriated into Law Library 2023 budget 6009-424-2001. I move that this be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-10.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bass.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to create a policy for committees of the Quorum Court. Whereas the county judge appoints Quorum Court members to committees such as the Budget, Finance Committee, Personnel Policy Grievance Committee, Public Safety Committee, and the Ambulance Oversight Committee. And whereas these committees meet periodically when needed, and whereas it has been determined that after any committee of the Quorum Court meets, a detailed list of decisions made be promptly emailed to each Quorum Court member by the committee chair. Whereas this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall be effective upon passage and publication. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that an email will be promptly sent to each Quorum Court member by the committee chair of each committee of the Quorum Court of the decisions made in each committee meeting, to keep each and every Quorum Court member informed and up to date of all decisions. I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
I have some discussion on it. As far as I'm confused on why the committee chair would be the one to the committee chair is not the one that takes the notes. The committee chair, we do have a procedure for the Quorum Court and committees, which was Ordinance 2205. And the chair is to email an agenda before the meeting. And then the clerk takes notes, and it is also recorded. So I think that it's redundant to then, I don't think that the chair of the committees should have to recap it to the members that were not there, because they could attend, they could request the recording, or if anybody's going to email the minutes of the meeting, it would be the clerk.
Well, I The reason I was trying to adopt this ordinance is because of the other ordinance, which I wish we had adopted first. Decisions were made in a meeting, and it changed some things that we had passed. I didn't know about those decisions. I don't know if anybody else did or not. I didn't find out about decisions that were made till the middle of last year. And this was done in 2019.
But a committee can't make a decision. They can only advance things to the full court.
You're exactly right. This was not advanced to the court. And I knew nothing about it until 2 years later. And this is what I'm trying to prevent. If we are made aware of decisions made, we can take care of problems that arise.
But that should be in her minutes or on the recording.
I don't care who emails it. I just think it needs to be emailed so that we can be informed.
How did you find out about it halfway through last year? Did you pull the recordings, or?
Is this in reference to the next
Yes.
ordinance? Okay.
Yes, I wish it had been done.
Yeah. Well, I should have. Is there the possibility of tabling this one to discuss the next one, but bringing it forward in the same meeting?
Is that a motion to table temporarily?
I'll make that motion to table temporarily.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to temporarily table this until later in the meeting. Any discussion? All in favor of tabling until later in the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Temporarily tabled. Next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bass.
Okay. Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled an appropriation ordinance approving the compensation amount for each Quorum Court member. Whereas the Quorum Court of Van Buren County meets on a monthly basis on the third Thursday of each month, and whereas there are times when special committee grievance and other associated type meetings may occur, and whereas the Quorum Court of Van Buren County also must curtail costs, now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, each member of the Quorum Court of Van Buren County shall continue being paid $300 for regular monthly Quorum Court meetings as passed in the annual operating budget for 2003, 0-2022/58. Each member of the Quorum Court of Van Buren County may be paid $25 for any other meetings, such as special committee grievance and other associated type meetings. I move for its adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Discussion.
Okay. So because I'm going off the last discussion. So what you're saying, tell me why the 25, because I don't want to assume things.
In 2019, we passed this very ordinance. In the budget session for that year, the budget committee gave themselves a raise, a 300% raise, which I thought should have been brought to the Quorum Court, which it was not. But they put it in the budget, and we passed it in the budget because we didn't know about it, and we didn't go back and read the budget report.
Can I give some clarification on that?
You sure can.
So we passed this ordinance in Ordinance 1914, to reduce our pay from $100 for special meetings to $25 when the budget was tight. We couldn't do it, and so we were glad to do that. We passed that ordinance. However, in November of 2021, there was a budget meeting. I believe the meeting was then, but the ordinance was passed then. And the budget meeting before that, we decided that we would give the employees, and I'm going to say the wrong name, I'm going to call it a bonus, but a COVID bonus. And
That one was, I'm sorry.
okay, we had I'm not sure the date of the budget meeting, but in November, we passed, the Quorum Court voted to give the employees the bonus. At the same time we made that
What
decision.
year was that?
This was in 2021. In the same meeting that we decided to give them the bonus, we also decided to reinstate the original pay for the Quorum Court members. That was included in the budget for 2022, both in the total number, and if it's that it was flipped in there, if you go to the summary pages on the back, page 125, under Quorum Court, it says 9 members, and then it says $300 each regular meeting, $100 for special and any other meeting. And that was in the 2022 budget that was passed by the Quorum Court in December. And then in the 2023 budget, again, it was detailed in the back under Quorum Court, $300 each regular meeting, $100 each special meeting.
But the thing of it is, it was not brought to this court.
This is an ordinance.
It was put in the budget ordinance. It was not brought to this Quorum Court. We were not informed.
It would be different if it was lumped in the sums. I mean, I could see that would maybe like, oh, I didn't know what was lumped in there. But on the summary pages at the back where it clearly states it, this is 2 ordinances that it's been included in that have went before the whole court. And it's not like it was lumped in a total number. It was written out in each ordinance. Most things don't do that, but in the Quorum Court it did, in 2 ordinances that we passed. So that's my first thing, and then the other thing is if it's just bringing it to light, then why does it say 25 and not 100?
Because that's what we voted on. That's what we voted in.
I know, but if we're doing a sunshine clause, because we did vote on it, we voted on it twice.
But we weren't, we didn't know. We didn't know. I didn't know about this. Did any other Quorum Court members know that they had given themselves a raise?
Well,
I knew it was back to 100.
Huh?
I knew when I read the budget.
When did you find out?
2 years ago, I guess, 21.
And I want to say, just for clarification, I don't think it's fair to call it a raise because we were just reinstating what we had made before. We asked the elected officials to make cuts, and we felt that, it was our due diligence to do the same if we were asking them to do that, so the county's budget would be in good shape financially. When we got back to where we were in good shape financially, we just reinstated what was paid, has been paid for years. So I don't know that it's fair to call it a raise necessarily, as it is more of a reinstatement of what we were making before we cut ourselves to help the county.
It was 300% amount. It was 300% increase.
Right, I understand the math of it, but it was just back to the original amount. So, and with it being on that summary page, I understand what you're saying. If our Quorum Court budget were if we had just lumped that additional amount in the bottom line of our Quorum Court budget, then you wouldn't know that happened. But since it's on the summary page, it's kind of a sunshine type thing. We did change this. This is part of the summary. We don't do that with every budget. But since it was a change for the Quorum Court members and our meetings, we included it on the summary page, which is in an ordinance to be voted back to the original amount. Which, I mean, maybe you didn't get that summary page.
No, I didn't get the summary page.
But it was attached to the budget.
It was attached to the budget, but we never do read the budget.
Correct.
We vote to just read the title.
Right.
We don't read the budget.
Right. But that's
So
why we included
and we don't get a budget before the Quorum Court meeting. So how would anyone know?
It's emailed.
It was emailed. I got a budget.
I got
I read it. I read it.
When did you get a budget?
whenever the email came out, it was either late December or I got another one in January. In fact, I got about 9 of them. I got a bunch of emails. And
This year?
Yes, sir, I read it. It was in the budget. Because I looked through all that and I read it. It was in there.
Nikki, I thought we ran our ordinance separate to raise that back up to 100. We went to 25.
Right,
And we-
right.
I thought
And that may have been a mistake, and I did look for that,
Okay.
and I didn't see it, and so we
It's not an ordinance. They're not an ordinance.
and we probably need to do a sunshine, but as far as the technical, it's in an ordinance, and it's just like we get it every month for our packet that we prepare for the meeting with. So we get the budget ordinance.
That's why I'm trying to institute the other, so we will be informed.
And I understand, and I think that, like, for instance, I wasn't at this last meeting, so I got the recording, and I watched the whole thing. And then to prepare for the budget meeting, I watched 3 budget meetings, or listened to them. And I think that that's a great resource, and I also think that Pam's notes are great resources. And I'm not saying that the minutes can't be, but we can't make, and the agenda goes out, we can't make decisions. We can, move it, advance it to the full court, but I just don't know about one quorum court member emailing all the quorum court members a detailed thing of everything that happened in the meeting, because one, mistakes could be made with the more things you create.
Well, my question is that legal? And
Yeah.
we have to have permission?
I mean, and is their opinions going to be
Right.
not on purpose inserted in there, where if you just listen to the meeting, you can make your own opinions, even as far as things like tone.
So are we discussing the $25
Oh,
or are we
no,
discussing,
no,
are we
we've got
discussing
off.
the table?
We've got off. We've got off. Okay, so let's go back. Good job for getting us back on track. So those, I feel like we voted on, the full court has voted on this twice, and I feel like it is not a raise.
And in that summary page, since it was a part of the budget is an ordinance, correct? When we vote in the budget. So is there a need to do an additional ordinance to raise it back to the original amount? And I'm fine with that for transparency.
It's my understanding that it's not necessary. If we want to do it, we can. I mean,
I feel the same if we need
How
to.
can 5 members of the quorum court override what 9 members of the quorum court passed unanimously?
because they passed it. It was included in both these ordinances and it was voted on by the quorum court. Like,
In the budget ordinance,
Yes.
which we don't read.
well,
That's
Your problem.
That's exactly. I mean, you should read the ordinance before you vote on it.
We don't get the ordinance before we vote on it.
I did.
I did.
I did.
Esther, I don't know, do you still have yours mailed or come pick it up? Or do you get yours emailed still?
I get an email.
Okay. That's where we get it, before the meeting, to be able to view it, and then when we get here, we get the paper copy.
because honestly, as the budget committee, we don't see it in this form. We work with the worksheet format until this final, so we see this final basically at the same time y'all do, this very final in ordinance form.
I mean, these are all the budgets.
Yes.
So what you get in your email is around 60-something pages.
75.
I think it was 75. It was in the 70s. I remember. I said, I'm not printing that off.
I didn't print it.
And so we have,
Anyway, I don't have enough ink in my printer to print that much.
right, so I think maybe you just missed the part at the end of the summary where it did shine light on that. Do you feel? Because I can say with confidence that we didn't do that in a sneaky manner by no means. I mean, everything that we do is recorded. So that was not our intent. We were just reinstating what we initially made. And I mean, you came to the last budget meeting, so you know, it was almost 3 hours.
Yes.
And I mean, you live in Shirley as well as I do, and it's not about the money, that's not why we're here, but time is precious and, you know, you can't put a dollar amount on that. So to be paid $25 for 3 hours of work when you take half of that to drive over here, I mean, we thought it was fair to go back to the original amount.
And we did it in unison with giving the bonuses.
You didn't give us,
Yes, we did. COVID. In November, we passed that. That was
what
ordinance
year?
2021.
We had a very lengthy discussion about.
It was, the total was $361,250.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Point of order. Call point of order. I'm calling for a vote. Once the discussion ends, at point of order, discussion ends, time for a vote.
Okay, just
Point of
call
order.
for the vote. Okay. That is non-debatable, correct? Call for the vote.
Non-debatable.
Okay, we'll call vote.
Okay, which one are we voting?
What are we voting?
Yeah, what are we voting on?
Are we voting on that?
Okay, we're voting on.
We're voting on the $25 one.
$25.
Which is, okay, right there in front of me.
All right, Holcomb,
No.
Nikki,
No.
Sarah,
No.
Mike,
No.
John,
No.
Paige,
No.
Lemmings,
No.
Bass.
Yes.
Okay, this one is 2023.
Fail.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I would entertain a motion to pull the temporarily tabled ordinance back to the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to pull the tabled ordinance back. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And this is the $2,000.
It is, and having already read this, did we read this one?
Yes.
Okay, having already read this ordinance,
No, this is.
No, we're talking about the email ordinance.
Yeah,
I don't know about the $2,000. The one that was tabled was the one talking about Quorum Court being emailed.
email, correct.
The committee.
Correct. The Quorum Court email ordinance. And this one has already been read, so I'll go. I don't know if I need to do this again or not, but I'll go ahead and take a motion to adopt. Again.
Hold on, you got a motion on the floor to pull it back in a second.
Okay, gotcha.
So
So all in favor, I thought we were
Of pulling
voting
it
that. All in
back.
favor of pulling it back, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
So at the end of any committee meeting, the next day, can anyone on this Quorum Court come and ask for the minutes? Or however long it takes to get them printed or copied or whatever? Can anyone do that?
Yes.
Okay, is that public information? Can the public come and get those?
Anyone in the world?
So if that's the case, then why would we do double work and have her send it out in an email?
And not all Quorum Court members, not all committee chairs are Quorum Court members. The ambulance committee.
Right?
Well, that's true.
Well, and my question is, okay, if it's emailed out to everybody, we have a question about something, can we respond in that email asking a question? Okay.
Is there a way to get more clarification on that as far as what can be talked about? I know we talked about it in our orientation. Forgive me that mine was in 2019. Do you have the legal papers or know of the?
What it is, it's FOIA laws. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, but it's FOIA and open meeting laws. And as it stands, unless it gets amended at the legislative level, like if me and John Bradford, or not me and John because I'm judge now, but let's say Nikki and John, they go to Rotary and they drive from here to Little Rock, Arkansas to go to a Rotary meeting. They can talk about the weather, they can talk about just about anything they want to, except they can't talk about county business and make decisions or what am I trying to say?
Make decisions.
You can't hold,
You can't coerce one another to a
Right,
Let me have this. Mike Rainwater the last authority. As long as we don't make a decision, we can discuss.
At our
It's
last-
been tried. It's been in court, Sebastian County, what other two details. I mean,
Yeah.
if Rainwater says it's good enough for me.
Yeah, he said that if you are educating, as long as you cannot poll someone for their vote, you
Yeah,
cannot
anything like that.
tell them, I plan to vote this way. But I can ask you questions to get education. I think that, that can get out of control, quickly if opinions are expressed, okay? So, but I do think that you can share information based on what Mike Rainwater said at the
And
last.
was there an email clause in that at
That's
all?
what I was going to say. What's the difference between having a conversation?
Well,
with
I mean,
people?
if you want to know what he doesn't advise that you
It's been tried. It's been tried. Again, I'll say it's been through court. It's been tried.
you just got to be really careful. And now I can't speak as eloquently on as it is.
So for Becky's question, if she did have a question about something like that, what would be, or anybody, what would be the best route? Wait till the court meeting and then bring it up. But if it was a budget meeting and Becky had a question, she could bring that up.
Sure.
Under what part of the agenda?
Well, it either died in committee or it's in an ordinance that would be entertained anyway.
So we
So
would
there'll
be
be
able
open
to talk
discussion
about
for
it.
every ordinance or resolution.
Okay.
Well, my point about this discussion on this ordinance is that if we want to know what happened in committee, all we have to do is call up here, drive by here, ask for an email, whatever, and we can get that information. It's that simple. Okay.
You can get Pam's minutes or the recording or both.
Okay.
Anybody can.
So we can also say behind closed doors is not a good thing either, right?
If I'm not mistaken, I went to the meeting in Little Rock, the new elect meeting. They talked about, if we go to a restaurant, sit down and have lunch, and we start talking about county business, that is a meeting between two quorum court members. You're supposed to somehow record that meeting, either with minutes or recording or something like that. And then they said, you really don't want to be doing it.
Well, where we crossed the line in this email that took place a couple weeks ago, and I was involved in that, is that every one of us were in here, and because of that, because we were all included in that email, that is a quorum, and that is illegal. And so I learned that just in the last 10 days. So we can't do a mass email out because that develops a quorum, and that's a no-no. So there doesn't need to be a mass email go out and then us respond to it. And in my ignorance, I responded to it. Therefore, I'm taking it. But I learned that lesson.
Which one are you?
It was on salaries and whatnot. It was a couple of weeks ago. 911 salaries. I replied with questions to get information, and all of us were tagged in that. And David Holcomb won't make that mistake again.
Which to Mike's defense, I went to that training as well, and they nearly scare you to death.
And I will say they did it too in my initial training. So we were floored at the last, what was that? The AAC conference?
AC.
He did a special session on it. And unless every one of us that was from Van Buren County misunderstood, it had been tested in court, and that we could, if we had questions. So a lot of times on these things, someone might be kind of the resident expert, and if you had questions, you could get education. You had to be super careful to not, again, try to poll someone, and then the other thing is, it wouldn't be all of us together discussing something in that manner. Again, there can be no polling, but if you had a question, how long, I don't know what it would be, but that maybe you didn't know because you were new to the court. You could ask those questions to educate yourself.
Okay. Does anyone have any new discussion or questions to add to the dialogue? Roll call vote.
And this is on
On the mass email.
No, it's supposed to be on the committee
Yeah, the committee.
emailing out. Yeah, you're right. So what is the, are we saying the committee person sends out the email or the clerk?
Well, I think we're going to vote on the ordinance as it's written.
Okay.
Ordinance as written.
Okay, Holcomb,
No.
Nikki,
No.
Sarah,
No.
Mike,
No.
John,
No.
Paige,
No.
Fleming,
No.
Bass.
Yes.
So our next ordinance, unless there's one that's been moved around, is sponsored by Nikki Brown.
And I've pulled, that's the one,
This is the one we pulled.
Yes.
Okay, for the library? Okay.
Yes.
That one has been pulled. So the next one is sponsored by Mike Wright.
You get caught up here.
You're fine. Take your time.
All right. So we're at H now?
Yes. I believe so.
We are.
Yes,
We're okay.
we are.
Yes.
We are.
Did I miss G somewhere?
G was
That was
pulled.
That was
I
pulled.
pulled it before the meeting.
Oh, okay. I was not. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number 2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $16,147.50 into county general number 1000-400 for law enforcement officer salary stipends for full-time law enforcement officers in accordance with Act 224 of the 2022 fiscal session of the Arkansas Legislature. Whereas Act 2024 of the 2022 fiscal session of the Arkansas Legislature appropriated funds for law enforcement stipends, grants for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2023, and whereas Act 224 authorizes a one-time stipend payment in the amount of $5,000 to each eligible full-time law enforcement officer as described in the Act, and whereas, as required by Act 224, taxes such as employees' share of Social Security and Medicare will be withheld along with retirement. Now therefore it be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas that 1, $16,147.50 be appropriated into number 1400-400 Sheriff's Office budget according to Act 224 as stated below. Number 1000-400-1005 premium compensation in the amount of $13,161.40. Number 1000-400-1006 Social Security in the amount of $994.50. Number 1000-400-1008 retirement in the amount of $1,991.60. I move we adopt this ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Yes.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Bass. 2311.
Our next ordinance is sponsored by John Bradford.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to clean up the 2022 annual budgets. All departments will be cleaned up by transfers within each fund and our department. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that these funds be cleaned up by transfers in the 2022 operating budgets. I move this ordinance be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
I had a question.
Yes.
I looked through on the transfers, and I could be missing it, but the transfer that we discussed in the budget meeting in the jail operation maintenance fund, don't know that I saw that.
It was done,
Okay, it was done separately. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to
That
make.
was done by court order.
Okay. Okay, so we didn't have to vote on it here. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was covered. Okay.
I'm confused. I'm confused about this. This is basically the same thing that we've done for years. Why are we having to do this ordinance to do something that we've done all along? We cleaned up the budget by transfers. And then when we get the transfer, we approve it. But I don't understand what is the purpose of this.
Well, we have to do a cleanup ordinance every year. But the transfers are in here. We were able to do it by transfers instead of adding money to the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've always done that. I did that when I was in. That's how we did it.
Yeah. Sometimes we do have to have an appropriation ordinance to add money to clean it up, but we didn't have to this time. Just moved money around and transferred it, and it's balanced
Within the budget.
within the funds.
No, that's how we've always done it. I was wondering why we have to do an ordinance to do what we've always done.
Jacob, just for record keeping, do you think this would be a 3-read ordinance? It's not specific. There's no emergency clause, and it's not really an appropriation.
It's not an appropriation, so I don't believe it would need to be. If it is, then we could take a vote on suspending that rule if necessary, and it might be prudent to do that regardless.
I think that would be our best bet. I do believe that this is an ordinance that would require 3 readings, since it doesn't have an emergency clause and since it's not specifically an appropriations ordinance. So I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules for the purpose of entertaining 3 reads at this meeting.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the purpose of suspension of the rules to entertain the 3 reads at this meeting. Any discussion on suspension? Roll call vote for suspension.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, Justice Bradford, would you care to complete the second read by title only, please?
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to clean up the 2022 annual budgets.
And third and final reading, please.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to clean up the 2022 annual budgets.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the ordinance in its entirety for approval? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2023-12.
Our next ordinance is one that was originally sponsored by Justice Phillips, and I've asked Justice Nikki Brown if she would read that, please.
Dale, sorry. Do we need to go ahead and do this Quorum Court one that we had decided to move? Yes, we tabled. So I'm motioning.
It wasn't on the agenda. Does it die on the table if we don't even acknowledge it? Did we just
No.
replace it?
No, it's on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I think it was A.
It was to
Gotcha.
add the meeting,
Yes, to add the meeting.
add money for extra meetings for them.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the things that I discussed when I went over the meeting.
Gotcha,
Yes,
gotcha.
Something that was omitted.
Okay, so yes, you are correct.
I'm making a motion to bring it back.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to untable this Nikki's ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor of untable, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nikki, it's all yours.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $2,000 into the Quorum Court budget number 1000-107. Whereas it was voted by the 2022 Budget Committee to add 4 additional budget meetings for the year of 2023 for the purpose of working to levelize salaries for county employees, and whereas money will need to be appropriated for this reason. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $2,000 be appropriated into the Quorum Court budget number 1000-107-1002, salaries part-time. I move that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? I apologize for getting lost in all these changes. Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemming,
Yes.
Bass.
Yeah.
O 2023-13.
Nikki, we'll do this again.
Okay. Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to correct 911 employee pay, to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $2,854 into the 911 department budget number 3020-501. Whereas 911 employees were transferred from the city of Fairfield Bay to Van Buren County effective as January 1, 2023. And whereas during the transition to Van Buren County, the pay of 3 dispatch positions was reduced to less than the amount paid in 2022. And whereas it was not the intent of the county to reduce any pay when it took responsibility for the 911 employees, and it is necessary to correct the pay for these employees. Now therefore it be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, the positions and salaries of the employees of Van Buren County 911 are set forth in this schedule attached hereto, effective January 1st, 2023. Section 2, the county shall, with the next regular pay period, issue back pay to any employee that has been underpaid according to the attached schedule. Section 3, the sum of $2,854 is hereby appropriated into the 911 budget into the following line items. Number 1001, salaries full-time, $2,288. Number 1006, Social Security, $176. Number 1008, retirement, $351. And number 1010, workman's comp, $39. Section 4. It is imperative that County 911 operations continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Therefore, this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and shall take effect upon passage and publication. I move we adopt this ordinance. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Do I need to read this schedule, or is it just, since it's referenced as a schedule, okay, that I don't read it?
Since it's referenced as a schedule.
Okay. All right, I move we adopt it as written.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
So looking at the salaries on the back, then we are giving them salary increases on some people to come over from 911. That's
The Okay, so Virgil, what this one deals with is this is the 3 spots that went down. Okay, so what this schedule has back here is going to raise them so they were even.
Right.
And it reinforces what we already passed. However, Becky has the tabled motion, which will be after this one, where we would discuss whether or not that's going to happen.
Okay.
Say that one failed,
Gotcha.
you know, this one would be, but this would be the same as what was passed in the budget, except the 3 positions should be where they should have never went down. We didn't want to pay people less.
Right. Gotcha. So which pay scale? I got 7 different pays. I got 7 different pays.
So remember when we had the budget meeting, we wanted to make sure that those positions that went down, that got paid less than they were getting paid, we want to make sure they were 3 of them, that they were taken care of, that their pay was back to where it started, and that they got back pay.
They got reverted back to 2022.
Yes.
Right?
So that would correct, we went in with 3 positions, just, we don't, those numbers can't be explained. There's differing opinions on them. Yeah, but then we're going to dive into the whole thing in the next one. Yeah, I know.
I won't trust it. I won't trust it this time.
What you do, Ward?
Oh, we discussed the 3 that were
Yes,
the
that's
next one?
Yeah, that's what's open right now.
Well, this is specifically to get those 3 spots to,
Do what?
we just, there was a clerical error, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to make it, we know, there was, everybody agreed in the budget committee at least, that it was no one's intent for someone's pay to be reduced.
Right.
So we're just addressing those 3 in this. And then we've got another, unless I'm speaking incorrectly.
You are correct.
So this dispatcher number 10, they're getting $12.50 now, and they're supposed to be getting 13.
Is that what 2022?
Well, no, this has the correct, so we can pull, this would have those 3 adjusted on this schedule, and then everything else that we had approved in the budget.
So right now, we're just talking about bringing those other, the 3 that dropped from their original pay, bringing them back flush, and then back paying them what they were owed.
So we're gonna bring the one making 13, and the one making $12.50, and who else back to their original pay?
That's, I'm going to try to help you if I can find it.
Can I help?
Sure.
Yeah, come on.
On my list is third dispatcher. She's being paid $15.75 now per hour. She was making $16.10.
So this is wrong.
So this is wrong.
Yeah, this says 16.
That's what I'm saying.
She
No,
said 3.
1610, the third one.
Yeah, third one.
Okay, dispatcher 2.
Dispatcher 2.
Yeah, well, she doesn't know those names on there.
Tell you what, for
We-
clarity,
I don't know what you guys are looking at.
Okay. Okay.
clarity, read
Okay.
the list.
Okay. Okay. 911 3020-501. The order that I will read them in is position, salary, hourly, biweekly, and hours. 911 manager, salary, $40,560. Hourly, $19.50. Biweekly, $15.60. Hours, 80. Dispatcher 1, $35,880. $35,880, $17.25, $13.80, and 80. Dispatcher 2, $33,488, $16.10, $16.10, $1,288, 80. Dispatcher 3, $33,280, $16, $1,280, 80. Dispatcher 4, $33,280, $16, $1,280, 80. Dispatcher 5, $29,120, $14, $1,120, 80. Dispatcher 6, $28,600, $1,375, $1,100, 80. Dispatcher 7, $27,040, $13, $1,040, 80. Dispatcher 8, $28,600, $13.75, $1,100, 80. Dispatcher 9, $26,000, $12.50, $1,000, 80. Dispatcher 10, $27,040, $13, $1,040, 80. Part-time, $9,802, $14.50, $14.50, $377.26. Part-time, $8,450, $12.50 an hour, $325, 26. Part-time, $8,450, $12.50, $325, 26. Is that correct?
Yes, so we're talking about dispatcher 2, 7, and 10.
7 and 10?
Uh-huh. So you're going from 1575 to 1610. 7 going from 1275 to 13. And then 10 going from 1250 to 13.
What was the second one, G? Going from what to 16?
12, so, okay.
Second.
About the second dispatcher, 1575, I believe is what she's getting paid currently, and she was getting paid 1610.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
O 2023-14.
Thank you. And our next one is the table one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and read it. You want to?
Me?
Yes.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to correct hourly/salary amounts of 911 employees for 2023 in the 911 Department, number 3020-501. Whereas in 2022, the Budget Committee decided to give no raises to any county employee in 2023, instead a bonus to be given to each county employee that is employed on the date given of January 17, 2023. And whereas the salary amounts given to the Budget Committee and the Quorum Court in 2022 were not correct, resulting in amounts being passed in the 2023 annual operating budget ordinance number O-2022-58 with raises added for most 911 employees. And whereas these amounts will need to be corrected to reflect the same amounts that were received by these employees in 2022 from the City of Fairfield Bay, beginning January 1, 2023. And whereas this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared and exists, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall take effect upon passage and publication. Now therefore be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the 911 employees' hourly/salary amounts be corrected to reflect the same amounts as received in 2022.
Do I hear a motion for adoption?
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance? Discussion.
Okay, so I want to start. I sat back and made kind of a loose timeline just for to try to be transparent, because I am on the budget committee, and I may have some things wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But we began discussing bringing 911 employees over to Van Buren County last year. We knew they had no retirement, and some of them had been there for many years. Also, the budget committee and part of the Quorum Court committee knew that the Fairfield Bay employees, the 911 employees, were promised by Fairfield Bay an 8% raise in August. And we, as the county, have something in place that we reimburse Fairfield Bay. So, for example, 911 is in a Fairfield Bay building right now. We use this as an example during our discussion. When we brought up the raises and the fact that Fairfield Bay could just put in a raise and we had to honor that no matter what. We brought up an example of we paid 1/3 of everything that's purchased for that building. So if they wanted to buy a $3,000 generator for their building, we would have to in turn reimburse them for 1/3 of that cost. So in essence, for lack of a better term, they just had a blank check from the county that could be used wherever. So that was part of our decision to bring them over. The budget committee was under the impression that 911 employees were already given that 8% raise because it was brought up in August. The budget committee, discussed bringing the 911 employees over as county employees in November, and we presented it to the full quorum court to be voted on officially by resolution in December of 2022. It was not discovered until this month's budget meeting that the raise that was actually voted in and made official by the Fairfield Bay City Council by ordinance in November 2022 didn't go into effect until January 1. As I stated before, we were under the impression, the budget committee were under the impression that the raise had already gone into effect. The budget committee decided that we were not going to do any raises for the 2022 year, and in lieu of a raise, we gave a supplemental pay. And I won't go into how that was separated because that's a lot to discuss in itself. But the quorum court has a job to disperse money based on amounts given by elected officials. We are not paid to be investigators. We are to trust the elected officials with the amounts that are given. And this is the budget book. We have well over 60 budgets that we go through. And if we were to scrutinize these, especially salary line items, line by line, we would have to have way more than the allotted amount of meetings. Well, I don't begrudge anyone any money for the jobs they do, especially 911. I work in EMS. I see what they do. I've seen it firsthand. I actually experienced it myself with my brother's shop burning down, and they absolutely saved his home and everything. So I know the importance of their job, and I don't begrudge them any money. However, salaries were turned in to the clerk by the judge in January with raises built in, and those raises did not even reflect the 8% raise that Fairfield Bay had previously promised them. But it reflects a levelized pay raise, and they also got the supplemental pay. So they got a raise and the supplemental pay. So in conclusion, my question is, why did these salaries with the raises in them, why were they submitted to the clerk after we had decided no raises for county employees?
Is that for me?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. We had so many numbers floating around, that was a complete and total oversight. Now those with the levelized, I thought those had gone in just like y'all did, the 8%. So what the levelized worked within the 8% that Fairfield Bay had allotted. So that's when we asked Judy if she would go back and see if that would work with Fairfield Bay.
And I guess my issue with it is now, since errant numbers were given, and I call it errant because they had raises in them after we said no raises, we, the quorum court, are faced with having to make a decision whether to take that money away because we said no raises, or give them the money and deal with the backlash that will come with it. So I don't know whose responsibility that is. It is my understanding, as I said before, that we are given the numbers and we're supposed to work with those numbers. But I don't know the fix for this. I understand mistakes happen, but I know everybody doesn't get, a birthday party, but we have to be fair across the board to our county employees.
Sure.
So we also have to take care of our county employees. Please know that I understand that if we don't have county employees, we don't have a county. So I don't begrudge anyone any money, but if we vote on something, we have to stand by that. So while I do not want to take that money away from them, I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, I'm going to make a comment, and I'm going to restate what I said as a guest to the budget meeting. There is no right answer. This is a lose-lose proposition, period. But I'm going to tell you where I struggle. And I'm going to restate some phrases that's already been said tonight. Number one is don't have time to investigate. Number two, Nikki said numbers can't be explained. I am a very factual numbers person, and I can usually crunch numbers to a point and I can make it work. And I can't make none of these numbers work. And I'm going to tell you the investigation that I've done. I called and asked for the expenditures of Fairfield Bay for 2022. And I know how much money was spent in the revenue for dispatch. There was $440,000 budgeted for that line for the city of Fairfield Bay. And of that, there's a salary line item of $295,000, of which $305,000 was spent. So they were in the hole $8,000. So in 2022, the city of Fairfield Bay spent $305,000 on salaries. Now, so I called Miss Judy last week, and she and I had a conversation. And we started going through these salaries, and there are errors even on the projected 2023 salaries and also the 2022 salaries. Number one, there's been 3 more employees added. In 2022, she had 10 full-time and 1 part-time. Is that what we discussed?
Yes.
So now then we have more employees, which the budget needed to increase. Number 2 error that has been discussed, and I paused her mid-sentence. If you'll look on these sheets, these spreadsheets that were given to you in an email, sheet 3, sheet 4, down here for part-time, they got 26 hours budgeted. She cannot schedule someone for 13 hours a week, and she can't run the 911 on 13 hours a week with part-time. Isn't that what you told me? And you told me that number should have been 20 hours a week. That should be 40 hours. So therefore, both of these budgets are already wrong. The second issue is that the part-time people and the others that are making $12.50, not the ones that we just voted on to raise, those numbers should have been $13 an hour, because once they complete training, they are paid $13 an hour. And training is at their own pace. Some may complete it in 3 months, some may complete it in 6 months, but nonetheless, they're raised to $13 as soon as they are completed training. Have I said anything wrong yet?
Absolutely.
All right. So here's where I'm struggling with this, because we have a budget from Fairfield Bay where they spent $303,000. We have numbers floating here in 2022 that says that the salary should be $357,000. That's incorrect, because she needs 20 hours or 40 hours per pay period on the part-time, so that number's wrong. And then we have numbers over here for the 2023 salaries that are $367,000. These numbers are also wrong. So we have wrong numbers everywhere we turn. Wrong number, wrong number, wrong number. So I'm going to suggest that somehow, some way, we get the right number and then we vote on it. Because right now, Nikki, numbers can't be explained. And I'm just going to, y'all are about to see what I'm talking about. I'm 6 weeks into this, and I'm already tired of numbers can't be explained. I'm sick of it. So I'm going to leave it there. And the reason, I guess I'm not going to leave it there. I guess I'm just my soapbox is still sliding, sorry. The reason that it makes this difficult is because we are holding 14 employees' livelihood in our hands. And I absolutely hate that, because I'm going to tell you something. They don't deserve $13 an hour. A person trying to make a living wage needs to be paid more than $13 an hour. And I know that that's where we're at, and I'm sorry. We need to pay y'all better. But right now, until we get straight numbers, I'm going to have a difficult time getting there, because of the mere fact that we can't explain numbers. So, now if I say something else, Virgil, you slap me, I'm going to shut up.
Really?
Yeah, so you're on a chance, you're on a chance.
You're bigger, man, I don't want to do that.
Discussion, more discussion.
I don't think there's no way to express what the 911, what they do every day, and saving lives, and their timely response. And I'm like you said, that the money they're being paid. But we, as JPs and the budget committee, when you come back and tell us no raises, we have 117 other employees, I think that's the number, somewhere floating around that number, and part-time employees who we said no raises. And so I have a difficulty, as much as I think they deserve more than what they're getting, and much as I have a difficulty being able to do that when we told our other employees no raises. And so that it gets back to, and that's where it gets to me at, you know. And again, we're in a no-win situation, because either way we make this, it's going 911's going to think we're not for them, and we are. I would love to be able to see you guys and do well here, and we're glad to have you as county employees. But it probably we wouldn't have caught this if we hadn't been brought to our attention by Pam when she found out these 3 employees come in said they were making less and wanted to know why. And so I want to. That makes it difficult for me to. I like to see things done in order and not see like something's been kind of hidden from me, kind of behind my back. And so I like to feel like things are done in the right way. And so just giving a raise, I just can't. I cannot. I have to trust you guys saying we have enough money in the budget to do that, and no raises. And so that's where I'm at.
I would like to just say a few things on just some things that we discussed in the budget meeting. You want to go?
No, go ahead. Sure? I'm still trying to.
Okay. No, it's a really clean. I do want to just mimic everything they're saying. This is a hard decision, and first I want to lead with just some facts that I want to clarify on this ordinance. Employees, I'm just going to read this part. In 2022, the Budget Committee decided to give no raises to any county employee in 2023. Instead, a bonus was given on January 17th. I just want to be clear, because a lot of hard work went into that. A bonus was given, but it was split in 2, so that people coming on board wouldn't get the full bonus. So half of that bonus was given on December 19th, 2022. Mm-hmm. So 911 didn't get the whole bonus. I just want to clarify that. The other, where I am struggling big time is, yes, I agree that we did vote that way, 100%. My issue is this. I know that I do not look at it as a raise, because I thought it was that they got that raise in August. One of the reasons to take them on was so that it wouldn't happen to us again. We have to reimburse whatever they pay them, and they had given them an 8% raise, and we just have to write the check. And so we need to take them on as our employees so we control that. I can't lie and say I didn't think it was already in there. And then those numbers were given to me, so I thought that those were their rates of pay. Had their rates of pay been given to me correctly and said effective January 1st, they'll go up, well, then I could have made a decision. But based on, hindsight is 20/20, and based on, I can't hide that it was my assumption that that was their current rate of pay, that they were given the raise in August. And so that is where I struggle, because I honestly do not see it as a raise. I never voted on a raise. Fairfield Bay City Council voted on a raise. None of us voted on a raise for Fairfield Bay employees. But I also know that, you know, we have 117 employees, and I understand where they're coming from. And that's why we discussed this in the budget committee, and we couldn't figure it out. So I don't know the answer.
Well, I have another question that's pertaining, since we're on the budget item of this. Because their hours, this 26 hours, is that something that we need to take back to the budget or personnel committee? Because Miss Judy needs to have the 20 hours per week, and that's going to change the bottom line of this budget item, this line item. So is that something that we need to discuss in personnel or budget or what? Because it's like I said earlier, these numbers are not going to be right. So we're going to have to adjust the budget one way or another. I don't know if I'm out of order here in asking that, but that number's going to change.
And I have to say something else about this ordinance, just as there's an issue in the fact, okay, there's two issues with this ordinance. One, it's an emergency, but it doesn't have the emergency language in the therefore clause. Number two, it doesn't have a schedule attached. I don't think that this is an enforceable ordinance, because this is just given, we don't even know the real, this is just saying some people got raises. Going back to the 2022 numbers, and like David said, we don't even know what those numbers are. So without a schedule being attached to this, I don't even think, and I believe in watching the video that Carol had said that in the last meeting, that without numbers attached to positions, I don't even think it's an ordinance that we could pass if we wanted to. And so I think that that's another issue, because if we pass this and it's not right, we've got ourselves into another mess.
So you don't have the numbers, the chart from Fairfield Bay, what they were getting paid at Fairfield Bay?
I don't have it attached to this ordinance.
We have those numbers, but
Yes.
it's not a part of the ordinance.
So I worry that if we approve this, and then there could still be room for interpretation. You see what we're not, in the budget, in any budget, there is a line item with a number beside it. This doesn't have that, like the previous 911 that we just did to correct those listed that.
Right.
I worry that this is just, again, going to complicate it if we pass this. The way it's written. I'm not saying in the concept, but the way that it's written without a schedule, with actual pay rates assigned to positions.
Well, but it says, correct me if I'm wrong here, the same amounts that they were received as employees for 2022 from the city of Fairfield Bay.
My question is, the ordinance we just passed, 14, those numbers that are on there, does that include that raise we're talking about, or is this?
That matches what was approved in the budget, because until it's changed with another ordinance, that's what's in effect. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, but it still doesn't answer my question.
Okay.
You said, okay, they were promised a raise. We thought it, or y'all thought it went through in August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it was set to go into effect January 1, unbeknownst to y'all.
Yes.
Do these numbers on this chart here reflect the number they were getting paid in 2022, or do these numbers reflect the number that they were supposed to be starting to get paid in 2023?
The number that they were supposed to be started getting paid, but to be very clear, some people didn't get raises. So some of those numbers are the same. That's where it gets even, there's an added layer. Let me just take this and make it more complicated.
So
let me just ask this. There are so many 6, 7 pages of budgets we have here. Judge, what do you think the fix is? I mean, ultimately, you were the one that turned in the numbers to Pam, correct?
Yes.
So, since those numbers were errant and they included raises, when we said no raises, what do you think? I mean, you're the proprietor over 911, so I'm asking. If it was a jail question, I would ask the sheriff.
Sure. Just for clarity, though, these numbers were turned in before we knew what was going to happen. Just like every other entity, we turn in those budgets, and of course, a lot of a lot of officials feel like they need to advocate on behalf of their people, so they put a raise in there, and those raises get taken out, or they get taken care of, one way or the other. And that is exactly what happened. I turned in one set of numbers, and those one set of numbers got approved. They were errant because when I was called by the mayor, she said, we've approved raises. This is just let you know. She gave me a courtesy call. I had no earthly idea that those raises weren't kicking in until the next year. No idea at all.
So what do you, in your opinion, what is the fix?
I don't know. I'm where y'all are. I want to do what's right for everybody, and I don't know what the fix is.
I mean, if I were the one that were over it, I would feel like it was my duty to fix it.
So here's what I think would be the fix. Since they've already gotten what most would say was a raise and a bonus, instead of going back on them, I think we should, and I think they would agree, that the next increase that happens, they will be, as county employees, they'll be exempt from the raise.
Okay, that's one
But
scenario.
that's one scenario.
But that doesn't take care of the 3 that didn't get anything.
I think there's more than 3 that did.
I'm sorry.
The 3 that went down, but then there was some.
The other, I mean, there were only a few that got the raise. I mean,
So we just passed an ordinance to increase the pay for those 3 people who weren't getting paid what they were paid in 2022, right?
Yes, right.
Are we going to end up having to pass an ordinance later on to take money away from the people who got a raise?
Well, that's the
That's what
decision
we're
we have to
doing
make.
on the table now. It would take them back to what they were making at Fairfield Bay at the time, and that would be no raises. Because see, like, when you answer your question, one of them is $1.44 over, one of them is $1.35 over, 65, 80, 88, and then you got 6 that are the same, that they're not getting a raise at all. So I don't understand how we can say that's fair to give, and I know the people in charge get paid more, I understand all that, but I don't see how it's fair for some to get the raises and others not get the raises, and then to call it a good ordinance.
Judy, which ones got a lift?
I don't even know. I struggle also with which ones are you guys looking at now?
Just the ones that are getting paid more per hour right now.
I think
they
I
were
am.
getting paid last year.
I think I am. Aubrey, are you?
If you can, do it by position, so
Oh.
we'll just know because that's the sheet we're looking at.
I need your.
this is what was turned in.
Okay. The 911 manager is making more. Dispatcher 1 is making more.
By how much?
Okay. Manager 1806 is 2022 and 1950 is now.
Okay. Dispatcher.
Dispatcher 1, 2022, 1637. 1725 now. Dispatcher number 3 is the one that we just did the raise back up to what she made at 16.
Okay.
Okay, so then we've got dispatcher number 4 from 1535 and 22 to 16.
15, I'm sorry. 30?
1535.
Thank you. So no change on dispatcher 3?
That's the one we just
That's
corrected.
the one we just.
Right.
I thought we just...
The numbers are different because there's no conformity between any of these reports.
No, you're right.
Okay, so we were on Shrev, was it 4?
You
did 4.
You did 4. 1, 2.
5. R5, which I'm hearing that you got different different numbers than we've got.
If she could work off the sheet on the ordinance we just passed, it would probably just make everything.
Yeah,
Yes, it would.
Yeah, that would make
Okay.
Clear as mud.
Okay, so dispatcher 3. $15.35 for 22 and 16 now.
Which one was that?
3.
No, we're just old and getting stove up over here.
2022 made 1520.
It's all right.
Okay, so where are we now? $16 now. Dispatcher 5, 2022, $13.40, $14 now. Okay, 6, $13.40, and $13.75 now. 7 is one that we just corrected. She made 13 in 2022, and you've corrected it to 13. 8, 13 in 2022, $13.75 now. 9, should be at 13. He's in training. He was making $12.50. He is almost out of training, and we should start him at 13 now.
Okay.
So
I don't know what you want me to do with that.
Well, we'd have to probably pass something that showed the training.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's just make that note.
Make a note.
Adds another layer. Okay.
And Dispatcher 10 made 13 last year, and we just corrected her back to 13. Your first part-time made 13.15 last in 2022, and you got her at 14.50 now.
You need to make a note right there because that says 26 hours of budgeted time. It needs to be 40 hours.
Right.
So there's going to be another difference.
And then the next part-time, she's a new hire in training. So we should have her at 13 and 40 hours.
Okay, she's one we have at 12.50 and the one we
Yes,
approved.
well, she's in training for now.
And are you saying that all these part-time really should be 40?
Yes.
Every single?
Yes.
Okay, I think
Yeah, one more.
there was one more.
Last one.
Last part-time.
The last part-time.
Oh, the
It was
last.
$12.50, so I'm assuming they're in training.
Right, they're in training, so.
So it'll be 13 when they come out of training.
So,
I think
I would entertain a motion at this time to take a recess, to take a break, use the restroom, and we can go construct an ordinance if y'all want to do that. We can suspend the rules and entertain it if y'all want to correct it back to these numbers.
Back to what numbers?
I want to have a question before I want to talk about constructing an ordinance. We need to find out if this ordinance is legally presented to us to vote on. Because if it's not, I think we're dead on water. How do we find that out?
So in what term do you ask for legally? Are you asking about Ms. Brown's original concerns about
Yes.
it not containing the declaration of an emergency
Yes.
and then defining what the emergency is?
Yes, and the schedule attached to it.
So comparing the one that y'all just voted on, that lists out what the emergency is, it makes the declaration, it defines it. I would say that I don't see that same language in this emergency ordinance. It would make me feel comfortable showing that there is a declaration of emergency and defining what that emergency is.
And to further that, I asked Carol last month, and that can be pulled up in the video. I told her I wasn't comfortable voting on it because there were no numbers in the ordinance, and she said that there needed to be numbers in there.
And I think it was Fleming that was bringing up the fact that it references the 2022, the same amounts as the 2022, which we could refer to those numbers. But I would agree with you that I think the numbers probably would need to be attached as a schedule, much like it was in the previous ordinance.
So they could vote this one down and then construct another.
Yes, they could. Yes, it could be voted down and then constructed the ordinance.
I got a request, okay, and y'all are calling this a schedule. I mean, to me, a schedule, like when I was with the Conway Police Department, when you came in, you were a basic certified officer, you got paid this much. When you got to Officer 1, you got this much. When you got to Officer, when you increased your certifications or whatever, that was a schedule. To me, this is just a chart.
That's what we're
We don't
ultimately-
have any kind of schedules in the county.
Okay.
So that's what the levelized pay, that is a big undertaking, but something we want to work on this year. There is no consistency. You may work in the annex and work on one side of the hall and make this, and work on the other side and make this. So there's no merit system, there's no formula.
Yeah. Well, do we not have a motion on this ordinance in a second? Because we're in discussion, so we need to solve this first before we entertain a recess. And
We have a motion and a second. We have a lot of discussion, and you've heard the legal issues with this ordinance. Any further discussion before roll call vote on this ordinance?
well, I need someone to clarify, because depending on your wording, if you vote yes, then you're adopting this ordinance, and so I think it needs to be rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
So
you would.
Okay, I got you. I smell what you're stepping in, Judge.
Judy, what your employees, what are they getting paid at? What schedule are they getting paid at? Off the left-hand side of the one you just gave me?
No, neither one.
John, that ordinance that we did,
This one either?
None of those are right.
None of those are right.
the one we just passed will be what they're getting paid, like as of tomorrow, today, or as of that past.
Well, they've been paid in the past.
If this ordinance fails, John, if this ordinance fails, we'll take a recess. Okay? We will draft an ordinance while we have Judy here knowing exactly what, and we have documentation from Fairfield Bay. We know what was being paid last year. We can draft an ordinance to fix the whole 9 yards.
Okay, can we take care of this first? Because
I do believe on the right-hand side, if we go back to our 2020 wages, the numbers I gave you should be correct. Did you do the numbers to see what your total would be?
Mm-hmm.
Do they match?
Can we just vote on this? And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you okay?
Okay?
Let's roll.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote on this ordinance.
Holcomb?
No.
Nikki?
No.
Sarah?
No.
Mike?
No.
John?
No.
Paige?
No.
Yes.
Flemings?
No.
Bass?
So look at here.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to recess.
So moved. Look at here.
Someone had a suggestion that I think is a very, very good suggestion. Let's get with Fairfield Bay and get a certified copy of what was being made last year. They'll be attached as an addendum to anything else that's going forward. That way we know exactly what was and what is. we'll have a clear set of numbers instead of a bunch of different rogue numbers floating around. Does that sound good? We'll set where we are. The Budget Committee, if y'all choose to call a meeting, you're more than welcome to, and review anything at budget, and then bring it back. If you so choose in Budget Committee to bring it to the full Quorum Court, we can do that. But with so much at play here, it would really be better if this went to committee to get sorted out and then come back as a clean ordinance to
So what do they get paid now? They're gonna get paid
Whatever they're getting paid right now, they're just getting paid right now until this gets corrected.
Except for the ones that we passed the ordinance a while ago.
They're going to bring them up.
Yeah.
So there's two things that I want to say. First of all, something happened today that I found to be unique. I sat down and did math to try to make these things come out. You all have a sheet, a copy that Sarah just passed out. And so I took what should have been $13 an hour. I took what was 26 hours to make it 40 hours. And I sat in my truck today as I worked, and I came up with a number. And I wrote it in red ink. It's right there. And guess what? It's the exact same thing on this piece of paper that Judy just made up. Exact same thing. So if you could use this committee, Budget Committee, because this is what the number should be that reflects 2022. With 40 hours of work, with those that are making in training, getting their up to $13, this is what the budget should have been right here, in my opinion. Just one man's opinion. Okay? So I wanted to explain this sheet right here. Here's my numbers that I wrote, and they came out exactly the same that Miss Judy did. And she didn't even know I sat in my truck and did this today. So, and we didn't talk today, did we, Miss Judy?
And just to be clear, that number and this page that I just handed out,
Right there.
those $13 an hour, that's after they receive the training. And that, is
Right.
that like a state thing that we have to pay in that, or is that just?
No, it's just how we've always done it as an incentive for them to train faster.
The other thing that I want to say is meetings like this, people leave and start rumors and start just a bunch of crap. And so if you have a question about what we have done or not done, my cell phone number is 501-592-1380. You can call me, you can text me. I would prefer to get a call or text 100 times every day than to have to listen to rumors that's going to be floating around in our county. And we are doing our absolute darndest to be right by everybody that's employed in Van Buren County. And so to have to squelch a lot of rumors just makes our job more difficult. And so if you have a question, if you feel like something's unfair, I don't care if you're in my district or not. Call me or text me, and I will be more than glad to talk to you.
I have something that I would like to say. I agree with some kind of certified document. However, I want to put this out there. 9 times out of 10, I would say it needs things like this. I mean, this is obviously a budget issue, needs to be advanced, or needs to be brought to the Budget Committee. Here's the deal, though. We have new information, I agree, but we don't have all of it yet. It will come forward. I don't know that it just doesn't need to be a special meeting of the Quorum Court, because then we're going to have to put all the employees through a budget meeting where we talk it to, and then we have to come to the full court because some aren't on it and they need to be educated and are going to have questions. We're going to have to go through the same questions, may not get out all the same information depending on where we go. And yet again, the employees sit through it. So I just don't know if this just need to be a special meeting of the whole court.
I agree with that, because, I mean, there's less room for error, there's less room for questions that may not be answered. And
we can hash it out together.
Yes, and that way everybody's on the same page.
Okay, you said that this we can work off of this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just sitting here perusing, and the numbers that are on here don't match the numbers that are on the thing that we just passed. I can give you an example, if I can find it again. Dispatcher 1, It's showing here, okay, if you look on that one column, it's the 8% that they were gonna get.
Yes.
Okay, and what their new hourly rate is. Shows $17.68. Down here it says $17.25 on this that we just passed.
But we don't know if these are the right order.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not another 17, there's no 17.25 over here.
Okay, so there, right here is your sheet. I don't know if you got it, Mike, or not. It was an email, I don't know when it was, January the 9th.
That's from Fairfield Bay.
This is from Fairfield Bay. And these numbers match this.
Give me the make copies.
And Miss Judy sitting right here, she can attest to it. All right, if you want to, that's fine.
Does anybody want copies of this? Is this even something?
I've got that at home. I know I printed it off.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk now that okay, so Mike showed me what point from somebody.
Okay, see dispatcher 1 here, hourly rate that we just passed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what she was making, or I'm assuming it was she, last year, which was that increase, right?
Right.
Okay, if you go across here, if it's the same person,
Okay, I see.
See what I'm saying?
Yes. Okay, so here's the issue.
You go out here, and that's what the new hourly rate.
Okay, here's the issue. This was the actual paid in 2022. The problem is the numbers that we passed in the budget and were given, the 8% was not given across the board. In this, it's given across the board. So this is yet another version of what could have been, but wasn't. So that's kind of it. So I think that this is awesome information, but I think that Mr. Holcomb is not on the budget committee, okay? Nor is Mr. Bradford or Mr. Bass, and so I think, or Becky. Becky's always there, so I'm forgetting it. So I just think that this is a whole court, because David, you had a lot of information that I didn't have.
I'm game either way, as long as we can get it solved soon.
And I think we would be able to get it solved quicker that way.
And these are, I mean, these amounts from Rose, they do.
They G-Haul.
They do.
Should we replace the budget meeting that's set for the 27th with a special meeting?
Is there any way to do it?
I can look at the issue that we have is that Mary, there's a chance she'll be back for the 27th. That's not for sure. So that's an issue.
Is it legal to Zoom her?
I think that ended when the COVID.
Okay. But we don't have to. We don't have to wait. I mean, like that's just we could do one before. I mean,
so if we do it on the 27th, like we got scheduled for the meeting, then that's if they're available. Number one. Number two is that give us enough time to get it all before we have to have it presented. Gives us time.
Judy, I mean, we need something. What would we call certified? What's the authority on this?
Since she is the 911 manager, if she would verify, I think verify is a better word than certify.
I agree.
So we're looking for verification.
If it's notarized, don't you have to swear to it?
Start safe. I'll go over there and get it. We'll have it notarized.
Okay, but really notarizing is just their identity. I mean, it's who they are, who they say. I mean, you know, we just want to make sure that we got
I believe Miss Judy is who Miss Judy says she is.
And I'll verify those numbers. I mean.
So does Fairfield Bay, will they not have a document like the one Rose sent out for 2022 that they voted into their budget?
They didn't vote anything.
I pulled their budget ordinance off their page, and a municipality, I've learned that it's completely different.
So
Like, they don't have it.
They don't have to list by your.
They don't have to do it by position. It's just chunks. There's no way to reconcile those. So do we want to, will we have the information by the 27th, or does someone propose that we do it before that?
Have it whenever y'all want.
I'm going to ask Miss Judy, the sheet if you would give us a timeline when you can verify that this is 2022, and then we can schedule a meeting.
I've already verified it.
That's what I thought.
Well, and I mean, I just checked this to what Rose Owen sent, and I know that's just an email. And the only discrepancy is the training, the 50-cent training.
And the hours.
And the hours.
Yes.
26 to 40 hours. Because that's a part-time position. I don't know if that's good enough since Rose is the treasurer, or it needs to be from 911. I don't know.
You know, a special meeting can be called either by the county judge or the majority of the Quorum Court. So you've got the majority here, so you guys tell me when you'd like to be.
So when we reimburse the county, Pam, have they ever listed out salaries by person?
No.
Or they just do it in lump sum?
What I do know.
It's lump sum.
What's the
I'm
lump sum?
not paying, but
Fairfield
Would
Bay.
she like in the
City
past?
county, but she meant for-
Yeah, sorry.
Here, let me show you.
When you, my question was, when we reimburse, is it just the line item salaries?
Yep.
So it's not listed out?
So I asked Pam for a copy of the check that she sent each month. And so right here is Fairfield Bay, and this is what, in January of 2022, this is how much that dispatch was owed, $34,000. And here's the check and the line item that Pam took it out of. So it's just a lump sum.
So it doesn't even show?
And that doesn't even mean that it would be all salaries. It could be the electricity could be in there and all that.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Yeah.
So my question being, is there any other document that we're going to be able to obtain other than what Rose sent us, which is that's going to be any more accurate? More legal, better in the legal system that, I mean,
they don't do it, they don't, like Tanya said, we didn't reimburse them by position.
Right.
So
is this not this coupled with this? Sorry.
It is.
Is that, I mean, is that not?
Here's your evidence.
I don't know, it's an email.
It is an email. It is an email, and it's not.
So
I mean, I guess we can have Rose
tonight, but want to keep going tonight?
I would love to get this resolved.
I think so. Okay, then we'll go. If we think that this is, I mean.
But that's just me. And Becky.
No, I think it's good. If we are all at this table saying that this is correct information.
The only other thing I know to do is have Rose notarize this, but
we believe Rose is who she says she is.
So what you want, let me make sure I know what you want. This right here, the column that says year 2022. Are we looking at the right column?
Yes.
Okay. This, I'm going to cut everything else off for my benefit. Okay. That plus part-timers. How many are there added to it? Because we're doing sheriff's office dispatch now.
One full-time, 2 part-time. We're adding.
1 full, 2 part. Is that correct? Okay. The parts were 13 each. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that is
except for one. That was $13.50.
because of tenure or?
Yes.
Okay. And they were already at 1350, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
13.15.
15. Okay. Okay. 13.15.
Yes.
Okay. And the full time is at what rate of pay? This is a new one.
The new one.
Came from
The new one, the last one we hired would have been, we hired her at 13. She came with training.
Okay, so that's consistent with everything else. So are y'all happy with the 2022 amounts? 2 part-timers, one at 13.00 and one 3.15 at 20 hours a week, and the 1 full at $13 an hour. You all agree to that? Those are the
figures
they're all these from last year, plus they're doing sheriff's office dispatch now. So these were pulled over from sheriff's office budgets. Not physical people that came from the sheriff's office, but from the sheriff's office budgets.
Yes, we took it out of sheriff's office, and that was transferred to 911. As far as the amount.
Is that what y'all want to do?
No, I want to ask.
I think we have to see this
with these numbers.
written with that on it. I mean, it has to
I
have it.
still want, since you are over the, I want you to be the one to make the decision. I mean, we can vote in unison or whatever, but like, if you're going to cut these people's pay, which is what this is.
Can I speak to
I'm
that?
doing what I thought you guys wanted to do.
No, I want you to do what you think you should do because you're over the 911. I mean, we're not over 911.
Can I speak to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So on the part that he folded over that shows the 8%, if you will look down, and that 8% brings up our new employees to 1404, and which is a mass improvement and make a huge difference to them. If we did an 8% all the way across the board, you guys do the level-wise paying, and then if we are over the amount you come to for our tenure or whatever, we stay put until we go over. So I'm arguing that we should get an 8%, and this should be a starting salary, not a raise. It's the fair thing to do. Everybody gets the 8%. The sheriff's office minimum starting wage is $14.47 an hour. And we have taken on a big chunk of their responsibility, plus for 911 employees we were getting paid too low anyways. This should be a starting salary, not considered a raise, and it should include the 8%. We went many years watching the county get raises when we did not.
Now, the county for many, many, many years did not get raises at all.
Well, same with us.
And nobody's saying
we go through 6 to 8 months of training. 6 to 8 months to do what we do. And to hire people on at what we're paying them now is really getting impossible. I mean, it is. Who is going to want to work holidays and weekends and graveyards and train and the pressure for $13 an hour? Not now. It's really hard to get anybody to do that for us. And that makes the whole county suffer. We were told we were going to get an 8% raise. We thought we were going to, we thought, I'm sorry, but I will put my dispatchers and what they do up against anybody in the county. They work hard, and we've got to be able to hire. We've got to be able to hire people.
You're not going to have a 911 center.
It is getting harder and harder.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate you advocating for your employees. I understand that. When you said you were told you were getting an 8% raise, that was by?
It was by the city. I understand the position you're in.
I just want to make sure.
That was by the city. So I do understand the position that you're in. However, please understand the position that we're in.
And I see both sides.
And a lot of people accepted that as fact. Because we had no idea if we were going to become, when did we find out we were going to become county employees? December?
Officially.
Yeah.
Judy, I appreciate what you're saying. We visited 911, and I can tell you that I would not do that job. It would be too much pressure. I would not want to be on call 24 hours a day. So I'm going to go on record that there are other jobs in the county that I would do. It's a job I won't do. Here is an issue. I've said before, I thought it was baked in the cake. And with that, I had a clear conscience. With this would be a vote for a raise.
Starting pay.
But the other issue is that some of these numbers before didn't change. So they weren't getting a raise.
That's correct.
And that's, I think, the most complicated issue, is that some of them were staying at $13, and they knew that. And so that's...
Actually, they didn't.
Okay, well, how did that happen?
How did they not know? Because I didn't know what was going on, whether we were going to become county employees. I tried not to talk about it, but it was common knowledge about the 8%.
Okay, well, but they weren't getting, the majority weren't getting anything.
I think that's because trying an attempt to do a levelized pay and what in anticipation of what the county would do.
And I do want to note that, I mean, while I don't begrudge anybody, I am in the same boat as you. I am an employer. I have had the same struggles, and we don't do 911. We play with kids, okay? So I sympathize with you on that. But please take into account that you do now have retirement.
Yes.
And you did get half of the supplemental pay, and we did that to. I mean, if you were to divide that supplemental pay out, it is a raise. It's a lump sum.
Right, I understand.
But I mean, you could classify that as a raise. I will never fault you for advocating for your employees. I appreciate you doing that. But we have a duty to do what's right for everyone in the county, and we, like David said, we're in a bad position, and you guys are in a bad position.
Well, to me, that's just another option. I know you've got a lot.
And I will say this: the reason that we scheduled that meeting so quickly was because if levelized pay is going to work, we want to start it.
And please understand, we are happy to be county employees because we do actually have retirement now, and thank you very much.
Right.
Because I've been there 18 years, and I'll never use this retirement. But the ones that the ones that are just starting, that's a plus. It doesn't help put food on the table right now, and they're getting 5% taken off of the $12.50, $13, which, you know, it's great, but when you make that little money, 5% is a chunk that they weren't used to.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
But I just want. There's no good.
So we got to have a launching point. I mean, if we're going to get to levelized building, we have to have a launching point. So I'm just going to be the devil here. I'm going to make a motion. Can I make a motion? Is that out of order? Can I do that?
Okay, what happens if he makes this motion and we don't like it?
If it doesn't get a second, if I make a motion, it doesn't get a second, it dies.
I got a question before you do that. Look, I keep hearing this levelized.
We've been having budget meetings. Okay, so I've been on here since 2019. And half of the budget cycle is spent on, we want raises, which is understandable, but the problem is one, in the past, we haven't had the money, but I think, I don't want to say that, but I think we can get there, okay? The other issue is that getting a straight across the board raise doesn't fix the problems with people not being compensated at the same, like you talked about. If you're a clerk 1, you're compensated at this. Okay, so it doesn't fix the issues that cause a lot of animosity. So the best way to do that is fix it all at one time, and hopefully we can levelize them and give them a raise at the same time, and do it all in a package, and be able to look at the full picture for the first time. Because usually we piecemeal it, and in the last few years it's just been like no raises at all. They still present them. I understand. They want their employees to get a raise. But the problem is you've got people working literally across the hall from each other, and they're getting paid different rates, and they know it, and because it's in the budget. And so we've got to figure out some way that it's fair, and the hope is that we give a raise too. It is, I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if we can get there or not. It's very complicated. When we get down to it, it's going to be, I've taken the counties that are our classes, I'm doing a spreadsheet to do an average of all of them. There's 40-something, I'm probably 6 hours in, probably got 10 more hours. It'll give us a starting point. But we don't have anything like that. And so we're hoping to get there, but we're not there. And I hope we can get there, but we may not be able to. But that's the goal. Levelized pay that's fair, that has some merits in there for different things. Don't even know what the merits are. We'll have to hash all that out.
Merits being certificate pay,
Or-
tenure, hazard pay.
But the other thing that we have to remember as the county is, one, we manage a $6 million budget. One good thing is that we've been very conservative in our projections. So we just got our audit. We made $1 million more than projected. It was the same way last year. So we got some there. Now you can only do 90%. Dale has some of that with the roads, that he can do a formula. But turnover that is not in roads is very low. So if you build in an annual raise or whatever we do, and I do not know any answers, you just have to think about how that compounds when people don't leave. So that's just another piece of the cake. Doesn't mean it doesn't get built in, but just you got to think about that as we go. So it's complicated, and we'll be starting from scratch.
But the reason we set that meeting for the end of this month is to start on it ASAP. And I may be wrong in saying this, but there's nothing that says that can't be implemented at any time. Am I?
Yes, we had originally thought that we would wait later on in the year and implement it in 2024, but things just keep evolving, and I think attitudes have changed, and let's see if we can get it done a lot sooner, and then another decision, implement it now or at the beginning of the, and I don't have the,
we don't have the. It's my goal.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I'd love it
to do it as soon as possible
because it would make budget easy. So,
and compensate people for their time, their certificate pay, their everything. So, back to this. Did your question get answered?
And he was going to make a motion, and if we don't,
we're going to shoot it down. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I make a motion that these numbers presented to you on the left half of this piece of paper, it says 2022, with the corrected amount of pay after training and the correct amount of hours, this be adopted as the pay period or the pay scale for right now, and that the budget be amended to reflect that $373,000. If you have to move money from one to another to get there, because that number is going to be different than what's in the budget that you already voted for. This is more. So it's going to have to be appropriated to cover that. But I make a motion that this be the scale and the budget be amended to reflect this.
So in other words, you're trying to revert back to what they were in 2022, right?
What it says right there on the piece of paper, 2022.
Second.
Yeah.
Are we discussing?
Have a motion and a second on the floor, and you can discuss.
As the head of 911, or it falling under your umbrella, how do you feel about that?
I think I'll speak for Judy too. I mean, we'll respect your wishes. I mean, whatever y'all. If this is what's going to stop everything, all the controversy and everything, you're the guys. I mean, you do PERS policy and you do positions of pay up of those positions. So it's in your wheelhouse. We like to think it's in ours, but it's really in yours. So if this is what you want drafted into an ordinance, we'll get it drafted and you can do it.
So we're talking about reducing their payback. They've already got a raise here, a small raise, and we're going to take them back to what they were. We're reducing pay off seven employees.
No.
We've only 3 tonight, put them back.
But those 3 did not get any kind of raise. They were just getting back to what they should have started. That was just a clerical error that can't really, again, be explained. But a clerical error, and so they're just flush. So we are just, everybody is, I think an important number to know is how many people actually got, and I haven't counted this, a raise in the How many, do you see what I'm saying? How many actually?
Okay, let's do that one. We actually got a raise.
You just have that.
It's gonna be the 10 minus, or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, minus the 3, so it's gonna be 11 of them.
But did they all? Okay, I just gotta look through. Well, except 3. Okay, so that was only 3. And then these addresses, those 1250 at 13, which that's
Here's the motive of my motion, just so you know. The saving grace for me is the fact that the budget committee needs a starting point to start the levelized billing discussion for 911 employees. Now, whether we come back in 6 months and then adjust everyone, so be it. But at this point, we don't have a baseline in order to give to the budget committee to start levelized billing on 911. My motion does that. Johnny, is it a horrible thought? Can't stand it. But we can sit here and this thing, we sat for 3 hours last Monday through committee and it brought it to us, and then we were going to throw it back to committee. Then we were going to call a special quorum court meeting, and every time it does that, it costs the county money. So if I have to be the devil here and get this thing started, then that's who I'm going to be. And that's why I want to get started.
For further clarity, your motion is to have those amounts drafted into an ordinance?
Yes.
That we can recess and construct tonight?
Yes.
So you're thinking that 2022, is that, am I hearing you right?
Yes.
You're going back to 2022.
And I want to use this as the schedule. It's already been verified from 2 sources. So,
And John, just to clarify, I counted it, only 9 of them got a raise. So not everybody got a raise and would be.
At least that 4 people now, maybe 5.
well, I'm just counting on the budget committee to strongly levelized billing and bring it back to us. That's
the problem.
Okay, and I just want to be clear. I just want to say this out loud. It is going to be hard. Everybody is going to have an argument of why this rule doesn't apply. I mean, I would too, from my office. So, please, just remember that we are trying to figure it out, and that I hope we figure it out, and I hope it's fair. So, it will be hard.
Who's going to look at this levelized pay schedule? Or 911 only?
Oh, I did that. Because I did that for roads, and they met at Fairfield Bay trying to figure out if that could be done for counties. So when I turned it in, I turned it in like that.
We started that years ago, though. We started levelizing years ago in all the offices.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion is to accept the 2022 rate of pays, to draft this as an ordinance for consideration after a recess.
Is this, are you comfortable with this as the, is this what you would propose?
Ask a question. Okay, they've already been getting this pay already. Once if it gets changed into the new one, back to version 2022, it's, I don't want to ask them to pay the money back, no.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Okay.
And I just feel like I've got to, we ran this resolution in December. I don't want to complicate it, but I just want to read this out loud. It says, now therefore it be resolved, employees of 911 shall become employees of Van Buren County at midnight January 1st, 2023. Employees' compensatory time shall convey to the county as is from Fairfield Bay. Employers' years of service shall convey to the county. Employers' accumulated sick time shall convey to the county. All time earned and banked while the employees work for pay shall convey to the county. The employer's years of service for APRS purposes shall begin January 1st, 2023. Every effort shall be made to make a seamless transaction. So we approved that in December, and that's a resolution on the books. So if there's anything that needs to, that's going to negate or needs to be addressed right now, we just need to do it and tear off the Band-Aid.
Well, we have to address the transfer of hours, vacation,
yes,
sick time. We've got to address that in personnel.
Okay.
So that will happen as soon as Miss Mary is capable of having a personnel meeting, and those things will be addressed. And we'll be done.
I just want to say that there are remaining issues.
Yep.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll take a recess. We're about to hear a motion to recess.
Make a motion, recess.
Any opposed? Call the meeting back to order after our recess. We have an ordinance that's going to be sponsored by Justice Holcomb. He made the motion, but at this time I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules to entertain this ordinance at this time. I probably got to do two suspensions, but go right ahead. Motion for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for the purpose of entertaining this motion at this time. Any discussion? Roll call vote for suspension.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
Justice Holcomb, will you read your ordinance, please?
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to correct hourly salary amounts of 911 employees for 2023 in the 911 Department number 3020-501. Whereas in 2022, the Budget Committee decided to give no raises to any county employee in 2023. Instead, a bonus was given to each county employee that is employed on the date given of January 17, 2023. And whereas the salary amounts given to the Budget Committee in the Quorum Court in 2022 were not correct, resulting in amounts being passed in the 2023 annual operating budget ordinance 0-2022-58 with raises added for most 911 employees. And whereas these amounts will need to be corrected to reflect the same amounts that they received by these employees in 2022 from the City of Fairfield Bay beginning February 10, 2023. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, these positions and salaries of the employees of Van Buren County 911 are set forth in the schedule attached hereto, effective February 10, 2023. Section 2 is imperative that county 911 operations continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Therefore, this ordinance being necessary for protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and shall take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, savings and repeal. All ordinances or parts of ordinances that are in conflict with this ordinance are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, severability. That should any word, sentence, clause, paragraph, or provision of this ordinance be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, the remaining provisions of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. I'll make a motion that this be passed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes.
Lemmings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
0-2023-15.
Now, Jacob, when Carol's here, we're usually done within 30 minutes.
I'll blame this one on me.
Jacob did a really good job for us tonight. I appreciate you, Jacob. So, next on the agenda is a resolution. John Bradford, would you like to read your resolution?
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution authorizing the county judge of Van Buren County to apply for a grant on behalf of the county. Whereas the Van Buren County Quorum Court has determined that the county meets the eligibility requirements necessary to apply for a grant under the Arkansas Unpaved Roads Grant Program, and whereas Van Buren County has presented plans to apply for road-based materials to raise the road significantly leading up to a current low water crossing at Bricky Road and Rabbit Ridge Road near Damascus in the Rabbit Ridge community, and to replace the low water crossing with a bridge, and the Quorum Court of Van Buren County recognizes the need for this project, concurs its importance, and supports the Van Buren County in its efforts to proceed with the same, and Van Buren County has furnished proof of having $75,000 through the community cash and or in-kind donations to be applied to the project as a local match. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the county judge of Van Buren County is hereby authorized to submit an application of formal request to the Arkansas Natural Resources Commission for the purpose of securing state grant funds in the amounts of at least $75,000 to aid and assist the Damascus Rabbit Ridge community in executing the proposed project described herein, and that the county judge of Van Buren County is further authorized to administer the grant funds of the same project. I move that this resolution be accepted. Adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Do I hear a motion to approve the transfers?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the transfers.
What's the resolution number?
Oh, sorry.
R 2023-02.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
We have a motion and a second to approve the transfers. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the transfers signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Are there any public comments? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Yes, we killed that.
Well,
Do I hear any opposition to adjournment?